The rain lashed against the large bay windows of our bedroom, the sound both rhythmic and unnerving. I sat on the edge of the bed, fingers trembling, staring at my husband Mark's open laptop. The cursor blinked at the end of an email that shouldn't have been written, words I couldn't unsee no matter how desperately I wanted to. The email was from someone named Rachel. It read, "Last night was everything. I can't stop thinking about you. Let's meet again soon. Same place." A wink emoji at the end was the final dagger. I blinked rapidly, my chest tightening as though a vice had clamped around it. My first thought was denial. Rachel? It could be work-related, couldn't it? Maybe a project gone, strangely personal? My rational side tried to wrestle control, but deep down, I already knew the truth. I reread the email, searching for a different meaning, something to absolve Mark and, in a way, myself from what I was beginning to realize. I should introduce myself. My name is Eleanor Moore. I'm a 37-year-old woman with what most people would consider a perfect life. Mark and I have been married for 7 years. He's a senior consultant for a prominent firm, one of those men who can turn heads at a dinner party with both his wit and his polished appearance. I'm no slouch either. As a marketing director for an upscale fashion house, I've built a career I'm proud of while raising our 2 children. Together, we were the Morse, the kind of couple people admired, envied even. But appearances can be deceiving. For the past few months, something had been shifting between us, subtle at first. Mark's warmth, his enthusiasm for the small moments we used to share, had started to cool. His kisses became quick pecks on the cheek instead of lingering touches. He began working late more often, citing deadlines and last-minute client meetings. I tried to ignore it. I busied myself with the kids, with work, with Pilates classes and charity events. But the emptiness in our bed at night was impossible to ignore. I convinced myself I was imagining things. I mean, Mark always called to check in. He brought gifts home for the kids, and sometimes for me, too, a silk scarf, a bracelet, a book he thought I'd like. But now that I thought about it, even those gestures felt like placeholders, distractions to keep me from questioning too much. Then came this morning. The day started like any other. I made breakfast for the kids, brushed away the usual chaos of school drop-offs, and returned to find Mark working at the dining table, his laptop open and a coffee steaming beside him. A call came through, his tone urgent as he promised to deliver some papers to a client down the road. "I won't be long," he said, planting a quick kiss on my forehead before grabbing his coat. He left in such a hurry that he forgot to close his laptop. I wouldn't normally touch his work things. But something, curiosity, suspicion, drew me to the screen. I'd seen the email almost immediately, its subject line innocuous, "Last night." When I finished reading it, I felt as if the ground had shifted beneath me. I closed the laptop, the metallic clack reverberating in the silent room. My first instinct was to pace, to process, but all I could do was sit back down on the bed, my breathing shallow. Mark's phone sat on the nightstand, locked with a passcode I'd never bothered to ask for. That seemed strange now. Why didn't I know? Didn't most couples share those things? My thoughts spiraled. How long had this been going on? Was it serious? Did he love her? Or was she just a fling, a distraction from a marriage that had become too predictable? The rain intensified, beating against the glass as if demanding my attention. But nothing could shake the feeling growing inside me, a mixture of betrayal and self-recrimination. Had I driven him to this? I thought about the last time Mark and I had been truly intimate. Months ago, maybe even longer. Our physical connection had waned after the birth of our second child, and though I'd noticed it, I hadn't done much to fix it. Work was always an excuse, as was exhaustion. Mark had tried in the beginning, complimenting me, initiating closeness, but I'd brushed him off so many times that eventually, he stopped trying. That realization cut deeper than Rachel's email. For the next few hours, I floated through the day in a fog. Mark didn't return until late afternoon, and when he did, he acted as though nothing was amiss. He kissed me on the cheek, handed me a bouquet of tulips, and asked how my day was. I stared at him, wondering how he could be so calm. Did he know I'd seen the email? Did he even care? I wanted to confront him then and there, But fear held me back. Fear of the truth. Fear of losing the life we'd built. Fear of realizing that everything I thought I knew about my husband was a lie. Instead, I smiled back, thanked him for the flowers, and told him dinner would be ready soon. But I knew this was just the beginning. That night, I barely slept. Mark was beside me, his breathing deep and even, while my mind raced with questions. The email played on repeat in my head, each word a barb. When the first rays of dawn slipped through the curtains, I knew I couldn't let this go. Over the next week, I became someone I barely recognized, a woman on a mission, determined to uncover the truth. Mark's phone was locked, but I was resourceful. I observed him closely, memorizing the way his fingers moved when he unlocked it. Within days, I had cracked his passcode. What I found almost sent me to my knees. The messages between him and Rachel were like a dagger to the heart. Flirty exchanges, inside jokes, and most devastating of all, photos. Some of her, provocatively posed, others of them together, laughing over drinks, a closeness that felt like a betrayal of everything we'd built. My chest burned with anger and shame. I felt humiliated, like the punchline of a cruel joke. But amidst the devastation, something inside me hardened. If Rachel thought she could waltz into my marriage and steal what was mine, she had another thing coming. I found Rachel's number easily enough. It was saved in Mark's phone under a generic name, but her picture gave her away. That night, once Mark had left for yet another meeting, I called her. "Hello." Her voice was soft, pleasant, entirely unthreatening. "This is Eleanor Moore," I said coldly, my voice trembling despite my best efforts. "Mark's wife." There was a beat of silence before she spoke again, her tone still maddeningly calm. "Eleanor. I was wondering when I'd hear from you." Her nonchalance was infuriating. I launched into a tirade, accusing her of everything I could think of. I shouted, cursed, even cried, my emotions spilling out like a dam breaking. She listened quietly, not interrupting until I had run out of steam. "Are you done?" she asked. Her question stunned me into silence. "Listen, Eleanor," she said. "I don't want to hurt you, but maybe you should take a step back and ask yourself why Mark came to me in the first place." I clenched the phone tighter. "Because you're a manipulative homewrecker?" "No," she said, her voice still maddeningly calm. "Because you stopped being what he needed. I'm not saying this to be cruel, but men like Mark, they need attention. They need passion. And from what he's told me, you haven't given him either for a long time." Her words were like a slap, but the worst part was that I couldn't entirely dismiss them. "Do you even know what it's like to be a wife? To raise kids, hold down a demanding job, and still try to keep your marriage afloat?" I shot back, my voice rising. "I do, actually," Rachel said, and for the first time, there was a hint of emotion in her tone. "I'm married too. My husband works overseas. I've got 2 kids of my own. But I've learned to prioritize what matters, and that's keeping the spark alive, no matter how busy I am." I wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but a part of me knew she wasn't. "Eleanor," she continued, her voice softening, "I'm not trying to take Mark away from you. I don't even want him in that way. I just give him what is missing, and in return, he gives me the same. If you don't like it, then maybe you should look at why he felt the need to come to me in the first place." The call ended abruptly, leaving me staring at my phone in disbelief. Her words echoed in my mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. For the next few days, I couldn't shake the conversation. I hated Rachel for what she'd done, but I couldn't deny the kernel of truth in her words. Had I really neglected Mark? Had I let our marriage slip into complacency without realizing it? Mark noticed my mood change almost immediately. "Is everything okay?" he asked one evening as we sat at the dinner table. I looked at him, this man I had loved so deeply and trusted so completely, and I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I wanted to lash out, to accuse him, but instead, I said, "When was the last time we really talked, Mark? About us?" He blinked, clearly caught off guard. "I don't know. It's been a while, I guess." "Why?" "Because I feel like we've been living separate lives," I said, my voice trembling. "And I don't know how we got here." For the first time in months, I saw something crack in his polished exterior. He looked down, his expression troubled. Eleanor, I didn't mean for things to get this way. Then why didn't you say something? I tried, he said softly. But every time, you were too busy, too tired, too distant. After a while, I stopped trying. His words hurt, but I couldn't deny them. Tears welled up in my eyes, and for the first time, I let them fall. I'm sorry, Mark. I never wanted this. He reached across the table and took my hand. Neither did I. It wasn't a resolution, but it was a start. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.